Good morning, students. I'm sure you all are fit and fine. I'm back again. Today I will explain you a poem that is in ISC syllabus. The name of the poem is Crossing the Bow by Alfred Lord Tennyson. I repeat, Crossing the Bow by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Before starting, I will tell you something about the poet, means Alfred Lord Tennyson. Tennyson is considered as one of the famous poets in Victorian era or age. Era or age. Lifespan, you can see poet's lifespan is 1809 to 1892. But he belongs to this age, that is, I said, Victorian era. You might have heard the word Victorian era. Actually, poet belonged to a particular time when the Queen in England rules over. According to that, poet is labeled there Victorian poet or Elizabethan poet or not. So here, when Tennyson is writing this poetry, so you can consider that Queen Victoria was ruling over England. So that's why it is said he is the representative of Victorian era or Victorian time. And that time is 1837-1901. Why I use number of times Victorian era or Victorian period? Dear, this is an age. This age is an age of confusion. Why confusion? If we read, we can see before Victorian era there is a romantic age, and people are always accepting the truth that is generally taken from nature. But in Victorian age, people are having confusion. What they will take, whether this is truth or reality. So why truth, reality, something? Because especially I will mention you might have heard Darwin. Darwin's theory on evolution has shaken the thought of the world. There is a conflict between science and religion, and people in this era are confused. And as poet is also a representative of this era, so he is also confused. What to take? Whether to accept spiritualism, faith, or science. The poet is writing this poem, that's why. Poet's lifespan, I said 1809 to 1892. Poet has written this poetry before 3 years of his death. I repeat, poet has written this poetry before 3 years of his death. Actually, poet is also confused whether to accept religion or science. But whatever, poet at last thinks that he should have complete faith in God, and that's why he has written that poetry, Crossing the Bow. Crossing, I am sure you can understand. Bar, it is mentioned here, bar means narrow sandbank at the entrance of a harbor. Bar, that is. But here, bar is a different meaning. Before starting that poem, dear, I will tell you, in this poetry we have two meanings. One is literary meaning, another is inner meaning. I will tell you both, literary as well as inner meaning. Bar, I believe I just told you right now only. Literally meaning bar means narrow sandbank at the entrance of a harbor. But what is the meaning bar here? I will tell you when I will start explaining you the poem. Let's start the poem. The poem says, it opens like that: sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me, and may there be no mourning of the bow when I put out to sea. The poem begins in a very calm mood. Calm, C-A-L-M. The poem begins in a very calm mood. Poet says, sunset and evening star. I have written sunset. Sunset means when the day is over, sunset. That is a literary meaning. Inner meaning, sunset means poet likes to say old age or end of person's life. I just told you here there are two different meanings. One is literary, another is inner meaning. If I say sunset and evening star, sunset, literary meaning is what? Day is over, that's why sunset. But actually poet wants to say what? This is not the day is over only. Poet wants to mention old age or end of life. After that he mentions evening star. Evening star, that is also actually there is Greek mythology. In Greek mythology we get a character. The name of the character is Hesperus. I have mentioned here. I have mentioned the character Hesperus. He is considered as the evening star. But here it is calmness. When the evening star is arrived, poet likes to say the place, the atmosphere is totally calm. So here poet has mentioned two things. One is sunset, another is evening star. And these two things are clear call for me. Means these two things are clear call for the poet. No mourning of the no mourning of the bird when I put out to sea. Call for means poet, according to literary meaning, poet says that he is watching that sunset and he is watching that evening star. So this is a call for him. But inner meaning, poet likes to say that he has come to that end of his life, his old age, and it is totally calmness he is describing with the word evening star. And call for means actually he wants to say call for death. Means poet is waiting for death. So poet is waiting for death. So these two words are nothing but the indication. Poet likes to say that he is waiting for death when he will watch sunset as well as he will watch that evening star. So call for me. And maybe there will be no mourning of the bird. No mourning. Mourning means sadness. Mourning of the bird, actually poet likes to say the low murmur sound of the bird. Murmur is a kind of sound. Low murmur of the sea. No mourning of the bird. Mourning is murmur of the sea, literally meaning. But inner meaning poet likes to say means no sadness would be there. Means there will be no lamentation. I repeat the word lamentation. Lamentation. Means no lamentation, no crying. Nobody would be sad when I put out to sea. Put out to sea. Again, obviously, when he will sail his ship, literally meaning, but inner meaning, he likes to say when he will meet death. So this is the first stanza. In the first stanza, what we have seen, we have seen that literary meaning, sunset and evening star are nothing but the indication for the poet, and he is watching these two things, sunset and evening stars, and even he is also getting the sound of the murmur of the sea. But poet like to say that he will meet death. Sunset is a clear indication end of his life. Evening star is a clear indication of the calmness of the sea. And there will be no sound of the bar. If there is no sound of the bar, I mean no sound of the sea. Means poet like to say when he will die, he doesn't want anyone to lament. Might be dear, near and dear ones, friends, well-wishers, whoever it may be. Nobody would lament at his death. I'm sure up to that you don't have any problem. Next we'll come to the next stanza. But such a tide as moving seems asleep, to fool for sound and foam, when that which drew from our boundless deep turns again home. What poet says? Such a tide as moving seems asleep. Such a tide. Here that poet likes to say the tide is nothing, that sea, it seems asleep. Poet likes to say that it appears, literally meaning, it appears the sea, S-E-A, sea is asleep. Means it is sleeping. It appears. But too full sound and foam when that drew from our boundless deep. But here, poet also says too full for sound and foam. Poet is having these fears. Poet is having that anxieties also. I think I told that when I described this Victorian era is an age of confusion. Which one to accept? Faith, spiritualism, or science? So here, poet likes to say that here you can get the word fool for sound and form. This fool for sound, your fool is deep, sound and form, that is nothing but poet fears and anxiety. Poet number of times says that he doesn't want anybody to lament at his deathbed, but still he is having that fears and anxiety. He wants that his well-wishers, his friends, his relatives, nobody should lament. But he has that fears also, because as I said, this Victorian era is an age of confusion. After that, poet says that which drew from the boundless deep turns again home. Next, poet says that which, that means here, your poet says that means your soul. Means poet like to say the moment he will set sail, he wants that sea should be calm and quiet. There will be no storm at all. Why? So that he can go beyond this external world, and he means here his soul can move peacefully. He can move peacefully. But still, I think I told age of Victorian era, age of confusion. So people is having that confusion also. But poet doesn't want that his relatives, his friends should have that confusion. He wants that his soul should leave this existence of this practical world and move beyond this world, and the soul will move. Poet wishes that it should move very peacefully and calm, with calmness. Why? Because it turns again home. Turns again home. As I said, poet says that in his deathbed, he doesn't want anybody to lament. His soul is going back his home again. Look dear, I have written here something. Bar, that is a bar. Actually, bar means poet like to say bar is a barrier between life and death. Though we know, I think I told literary meaning, bar means sandbird at the entrance of the harbor. But here, bar is nothing but a barrier between life and death. Dear, we are living in this world. This is our partial existence. What is partial existence? This is temporary existence. Poet says, after having that existence here only, when people die, he come to the world of death. And according to the poet, this is the real home of anyone. You can understand. I think I just told now that living in this world is a partial, means temporary existence. So which one is a permanent existence? Life after death. I repeat, life after death according to the poet. I think I told this is an age of confusion, but poet at last formed the belief that he must have faith in God, and that's why he feels that there must have life after death, and poet wants to meet that death. And here, that's why he can say that is his real home. And he says in the second stanza, last line, turns again home. Poet says that he is going back his own house, it is own home. So why people, generally his relatives, everyone, well-wishers, friend, everyone, to lament? When we go back home, we do not lament at all, we do not cry at all. There is no separation at all. So poet says that one, you people, please, according to poet, means these relatives, friends, everyone, he is telling for them only, but you should not lament. I am sure up to that you don't have any problem. Coming to the third stanza, twilight and evening bell, and after that the dark, and may there be no sound, sadness of farewell when I embark. Twilight and evening bell. After that, the dark. Twilight. What is twilight? Twilight is short period after sunset. That is twilight. And evening bell, that actually indicates day-to-day's activity. Look dear, bell is nothing but the signal of completion of any work. When you appear for the exam, what happens? Bell, first bell, second bell, third bell, something like that. That is that bell signals that you have to complete your work by that stipulated time, by the given time. Here, poet like to say this evening bell, that is an indication of what? Any day-to-day's activity. So poet again mentioning two words, evening bell and twilight, and after that dark. Means you can understand that twilight, as I said, short period after sunset. After sunset it is dark, and evening bell indicating day-to-day's activities. So poet like to say when evening approaches, his activities are over, he has to meet death, and this death is dark. This death is dear dark. That's why poet says twilight, evening bell, after that the dark. After that the dark means day is over, evening approaches, means life comes to an end. Evening bell indicates day-to-day's activity. Man's activity promises whatever, everything has been completed. Now he has to meet death. That's why it is dark. So here dark is nothing but death. There may be no sound, no sadness of farewell when I embark. Poet says again, I do not want anyone to send me off when I embark. Embark means, here poet like to say, leaving this world, going or moving to death. Poet repeatedly telling, better to say requesting everyone that he doesn't want anybody to send him off to say adieu, bye-bye, or farewell when he embarks. When after death, when after his life here, means in this practical world, he moves to death. So here this third stanza describes what? This third stanza, again I say, literary meaning, twilight, as I said, short period after sunset, evening bell, day-to-day's activity. But poet like to say what? Evening bell and this twilight. But twilight describes what? Poet's death, and poet wants when I embark. Embark means he will move towards death. That is a inner meaning. Poet says that when he will meet death, he doesn't want anyone to lament. Last stanza. For though from our own burden of time and place the flood may bear me for, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bourne. For though from our own bourne of time and place, bourne meaning actually boundary, and bourne of time and place. Here, this is a fact. We see is limited by time and place. Each and everything in this universe is limited by time, obviously, and place also. So poet says that one, from our bourne of time and place. So there is a boundary of time, there is a boundary of place. Means what? Everything is having the limitation. We are limited by this time and place. Up to that poet says, the flood may bear me far. The flood, what is that flood? This flood is nothing but the sea. If I say literary meaning, poet like to say that as he wants the sea should be very calm and quiet. He can set sail his ship very easily. It would have very comfortable journey then. So here poet like to say that when he would meet death, there would be no confusion, there would be no fears, no anxiety, nothing. At last he says, this flood, this sea will bear me far, means he will move to this infinite world. I hope to see my pilot face to face. Why poet thinks that he doesn't want anybody to lament? Because poet says he would meet his pilot. Literally meaning pilot is what? Pilot is obviously who is the person driving the car, who is the person flying the flight, that is the pilot, who is the person who is taking the ship, pilot. But here pilot, according to poet, obviously means is nothing but God. Poet says, I will meet my pilot face to face. Poet likes to say that he would meet God face to face. I have crossed the bar. Crossed means, poet has not said cross, he has said crossed. C-R-O-S-T means when I have already moved towards death. Last two lines, I repeat, poet like to say he would meet God face to face the moment he crossed the barrier between life and death. Means he would move towards death. I am sure you have understood. So that is an explanation of the poem. After that, dear, I will explain you the literary devices. Dear, there are many things, many literary devices is there. Especially the bar itself is very important literary device. I think I told here bar can be used as a metaphor here. It is a metaphor, we can say, but even it has been personified also. I will tell you everything. Why bar is a metaphor? I am sure that you people know metaphor is what? When we compare to different objects. Here bar, as I said, is a barrier between life and death. The bar itself is a metaphor poet has used. Even after that, there you can say sunset, evening star. These all are also metaphor. Sunset, I think I told, old age. Evening star, calmness. These are also these are also metaphor poet has used in this poetry. Even you can see when I say clear call, means somebody calling. Here poet like to say what? Clear call for death. That's why I have mentioned here clear call. Call means call for death. That is a metaphor also. After that, you can see again. We have just described that one, that he says that he will meet his pilot face to face. Who is the pilot? Excuse me, pilot is nothing but God here. So these are the metaphors used here. Even personification is there. If you read this line, the bar, it has been mentioned here. First stanza, third line, may there be no mourning of the bar. No mourning. Mourning is a lamentation. Bar is a, that is I said Sandberg. So when we read, it seems that bar is mourning, bar is lamenting, the bar is crying. Is it the fact? No. Who is crying actually? Human being. So here bar has been given the quality of human being. It has been given the characteristics of human being. So that's why bar has been personified here. So here another also, the tide. When the poet says of the tide, it says that look, this line, the tide, poet says that it seems that tide is asleep. It is not the fact that tide is asleep. It is actually human beings. It is actually human beings. So human beings are asleep. So obviously again tide is being characterized as human feelings. That's why it is personification. The two personifications we have got here, one is bar is personified, even tide is also personified. One more thing I will tell, there are alliteration, second line of the first stanza, clear call, K sound is repeated, clear call I have not mentioned here, I will write here, alliteration, clear call. The C, that is K sound actually. The K sound has been repeated here, clear call. So after that you can see here imagery. There are a lot of imageries here because that sunset, evening star, morning of the bird, lot of evening bell, everything is a imagery. So but when I say sunset and evening star, it is a visual imagery. Do we have different kind of imageries? Like sunset and evening star, these are visual. Why visual? Because we can see that one. So sunset and evening star, that is visual imagery. Morning of the bird, morning means I think I told lamenting, that is a sound we can listen, that's why it is auditory. Next one, twilight and evening bell. Twilight and evening bell. Twilight we can see, that's why it is visual, and evening bell we can listen, that's why auditory. So both sounds are there, so both imageries are there, visual as well as auditory. So these are the things I am sure you have understood, and from here you might be asked different questions, especially this meaning, what are the indications. And last I will tell you here, after reading this poetry we have the conception of what is the conception of home. Better I will write here theme, our home. What is the conception of home? What is our conception of death? And what is the conception of old age? These three things are very important poet has described in this poetry. I think I told when the poet has written this poetry, that was 3 years before his death. So he has become already old. So he was thinking of his old age, he was thinking of home, and even he was thinking of death. Old age, if I go something like this, old age to death and death to home. After old age, people meet death. According to poet, when people meet death, that means he goes back his own house, that is home. These are the three important things poet try to mention in this poetry, though Victorian age is an age of confusion, but he at last have faith in God, have faith in spiritualism, and he believes there is life after death. That means immortality of soul. I repeat the word, immortality of the soul. Thank you very much.